Alright, hello guys, welcome back to another episode of The Claw and the King. We are back with the worst podcast on YouTube.
I wouldn't say worst.
Well,
it's up there, but it's not. I wouldn't say quite worst.
I think we are averaging about one episode every 6 months at this point, so we're on track to be the slowest growing show.
Quality over quantity. Quality over quantity.
Yeah, we've previewed the season, we've reviewed the season, and now we're going to preview the season again.
Okay, sweet as.
And as you can see,
what it do, baby?
we have an upgraded setup. Thanks for those 20 views. That money really came in handy. We have purchased this smart TV, and we can.
I already had the TV, but yeah.
No, this is a benefactor of the podcast.
Oh, we're just rolling in dough now. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's enough of that shit. Let's just fucking start this. So, NBA season right around the corner.
Yes, it is. Very excited. Not if you're a Clipper fan, but because of obviously Kawhi's injury, but I think there's a lot of new teams, a lot of developments, I think, that sort of have changed it from where you might have perceived it at the end of last season. So teams like the Nets, you would have thought would be nailed on favourites, but Kawhi is a bit of a free thinker, shall we say?
Kawhi.
Oh, not Kawhi. What am I saying? Kyrie. I mean, both are pretty weird guys, but Kyrie is.
Kawhi's a lot more normal than Kyrie.
Yeah, I mean, look,
we'll talk about it later.
I don't want to get into politics, but it's you're a bit of a goober, aren't you? If you're not taking a vaccine and avoiding all that money.
Yeah. Well, basically, how I'm viewing this episode is, you may as well not watch the NBA season if you're going to watch this show, because I'm going to tell you every single thing that's going to happen over the next 6 months.
You predicted Kyle Kuzma would win the most improved player last year. I just want to remind you that.
Yeah, that was because I had blind bias because he was on my team.
Okay.
But now I have clear vision.
You have clear vision? Okay.
And I can see everything that's going to happen.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll go through every team, give them a short rundown, see what we think is going to happen, where they're going to go from last year, and give our overall predictions for how they're going to do this year. So let's start with the Eastern Conference, and have you got the notes open?
Mate, I know what's happening, bro. You're the Eastern Conference, I'm the West, bro.
Okay, so you don't want to
the organisation.
You don't want to look at the notes while we're going through them.
I respond to what you dug up.
Okay.
It's a bit of a nut job.
So what happens when one person does all the work?
Oh my god.
Yeah, okay. We'll start with the Hawks then, alright? So the Hawks, honestly, a pretty quiet off-season. All their players are under contract, they're all reasonably young. They've lost no one really of note. Tony Snell in free agency, I think he was in the 50-40-90 club somehow, or close to it. That was a big fluke from him. But yeah, I feel like this year is just going to be similar to last year. There's building on making the playoffs, making the conference finals. I don't think they'll make it back there again this year. I think that was a little bit lucky that Philadelphia absolutely choked that series. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't obviously have them that highly. I think they got quite fortunate, them and the Knicks really, that they were that high of a seed going in because of injuries and multiple scenarios out in the East. But I do like their draft picks. I think Jalen Johnson and Sharif Cooper, I think it is. I think both of those guys are young, exciting, and I think they just needed bench depth. I think you've got a guy like Trae Young and John Collins.
Well, they have signed, as it says right here on my notes, DeLon Wright and Gorgie Deng.
I mean, wow.
That's some bench depth right
there you go.
I mean,
those guys do provide defense, to be fair, which the Hawks kind of lack, you can say, from their two star players. But
well, DeAndre Ayton is meant to be a defensive god.
Yeah, but they've got a lot of two-way players or guys that do one thing. They don't have a lot of guys that sort of can do everything, you can say. So,
Cam Reddish is that guy.
Cam
Reddish has got
so
potential.
deluded, aren't you?
He's got potential.
Okay, we can't be rambling on about the Hawks for 30 minutes, but in essence,
they're going to do the same thing they did last year, but shitter.
Well, the Hawks did as much as they could have done in free agency in the draft. They had Bogdanovich to a big-time contract, John Collins obviously big-time contract, Trae Young big-time contract, Clint Capella big-time contract. So they can't afford to, get a high level free agent. But I thought they improved their team, which is all you can ask for really.
Okay, sure. Okay, Celtics. So Celtics have had quite a big off-season. So they've brought back Enes Kanter, Dennis Schroeder, obviously the choker of all chokes with his contract situation. He's just fucking rocked up to Boston on a minimum as a reserve point guard, basically. Al Horford's back there, I guess. Cool, that's cool. Josh Richardson, but they've lost Kemba and a bunch of retards.
Yeah, I mean...
I should probably can't say that.
Well, but you're gonna get cancelled, dude. No, look, I think the Celtics are in this kind of a spot where they didn't trade their young pieces early enough. I think they had a team at a...
What do you think they should have traded Tatum?
Well, they got the wrong guy. They got Kyrie instead of getting a guaranteed guy that's going to bring both offense and defense. I think they had a lot of young pieces at a time where they had Terry Rozier there, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Obviously, you want Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown at the moment, but those guys have really got to elevate to another level for them to be considered as contenders, in my opinion. I do like Dennis Schroeder. I think, obviously, he did fumble the bag, but I do think he is still a quality backup. And yeah, the Celtics have disappointed me for so many years in the playoffs. So it's...
Didn't they make the conference finals like 2 years ago?
Yeah, and obviously, they've changed. Brad Stevens is a GM.
I thought Brad Stevens was meant to be the next Greg Popovich.
But yeah,
he said bye. I don't want to coach anymore.
So yeah, it's a bunch of mystery you can say about them this year. But again, you can never count them out of the East because they've still got a lot of talented players on their team.
Well, okay, so they finished 7th last year. Do you think they'd do better than that?
Well, we're going to probably do the standings, or we're predicted standings next episode, but I think they should be higher than that, honestly.
I think the East is actually really tough this year.
Yeah, I mean, you've got obviously you don't know what's going to happen with Philadelphia, you don't know what's going to happen with Brooklyn, you don't know what's going to happen with Milwaukee, if they'll continue to be, obviously you anticipate that they will be, but there's a lot of teams, high-end teams in that Eastern Conference, but I do still think the depth is a bit off. I think obviously the Knicks overachieved last year, the Hawks I think overachieved last year, so they can, I still think, finish around that 5th place.
Okay, now we'll go into what basically everyone had as the early pre-season favourites, the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, they were KD's shoes being one size too big away from an NBA championship, basically. And before this whole vaccine thing, they were definitely going to win the championship, or at least make the finals, in my opinion. They've obviously had another elite off season, bringing in Patty Mills. LaMarcus Aldridge has conveniently come out of retirement. They've added Paul Millsap, who's an all-star in his prime. He's not that great anymore, but he's still very experienced and he's going to bring a lot to the team. And they didn't really give up much. DeAndre Jordan didn't do anything for them last year. Spencer Dinwiddie's left, but he didn't play all of last year. Jeff Green was a nice role player, but I think Patty Mills is I think he's an upgrade.
Well, yeah, I think the Nets obviously have retooled, and I do love the addition of Patty Mills to that team, especially. But again, there's just so much controversy around them. It's just Kyrie Irving being out is such a blow, because I think with him they're runaway favourites, absolute runaway favourites. And I know obviously we're going to talk about the Lakers later on, but I don't think the Lakers, chemistry-wise or gel-wise, can even come up against the Nets and beat them in a series. I just don't think Westbrook would be on the level of Kyrie. I don't think Anthony Davis on the level of Kevin Durant and James Harden and LeBron James. I don't think is even at that Kevin Durant level at the moment. So I think obviously losing Kyrie Irving, which is going to look like it's going to be for the rest of the year. Obviously he came out and had a pretty...
Kyrie Irving is a flat-out embarrassment to human existence.
I wouldn't say that, because obviously...
You're a menace to society at this point. That's
we've got to have respect for him to give up the paycheck for something he believes in.
Oh,
obviously everyone in Australia is vaccinated, so we don't have the...
What is the problem with getting a needle? Like,
well, I think he did it more in protest. Listening to his comments, it was more in protest.
yeah, he's doing it for the other flops who actually think they're going to die from taking it. He's doing it for them.
Look, this ain't a political show.
Me?
Are we CNN right now? It's like, it's ain't politics.
You're a basketball player, mate.
Yeah, I mean, look, it should have been...
You're ruining your career right now.
I wouldn't say ruining it. I think, obviously, he still has...
His trade value is basically zero.
No one
wants him.
He is zero, but...
Every situation he's been in now has been a problem.
But I think it depends on if the Nets amend that rule, because I'm pretty sure... Is it just the Brooklyn area, or Brooklyn...
It's New York, LA, another state, and it's probably going to be more states.
Yeah. It's a tricky one, because with him, I think they're runaway favourites, but I do think that without him, they can still win. Obviously, I think James Harden and Kevin Durant are two unbelievable players, and they've got strength around it. They've got good veterans around it.
Well, last year James Harden was out there on one leg basically at the end of the playoffs, and they still nearly beat Milwaukee. So if he's healthy, they probably do still have a chance.
Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't count them out certainly, but obviously losing Curry is a massive blow.
Unless they get Ben Simmons.
I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't touch that guy with a 7 foot pole.
Okay. Moving on to one of the most watched teams, the Hornets, I would say. Obviously, LaMelo Ball won Rookie of the Year. He's in for a big second year, hopefully, if he can stay healthy. They've got a lot of rookies: James Bouknight, Kai Jones, JT Thor, Scotty Lewis. Don't really know them, but I'm sure they're all insane. Kelly Oubre, so they've just gone, we want to be the coolest team in the NBA.
Yeah.
We want all
the good-looking, light-skinned dudes that we can possibly
all the street
find.
cred.
We want every good-looking person that we can possibly find and put them in like Charlotte. Let's not put them in LA or New York or Miami. Let's put them in Charlotte.
Yeah.
No, I think they've obviously got a very athletic team, a very young team. Again, would they make the playoffs? Potentially. Depends on how the Knicks do. I expect them to kind of fall off a tad, but yeah, again, it's about development for that team. I don't think it matters if they finish 7th or 8th seed or they finish 10th seed. It's about their young players developing and playing well, and guys like LaMelo just improving. So again, there's not much to talk about, I think, with the Hornets, simply for the fact that they've got young pieces that try and complement LaMelo. And yeah, it's all about growth for them. It's not about results necessarily, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, results are nice, but...
I mean, you're not going to beat the Nets or the Bucks in a playoff series,
No. Okay, so the Bulls. Now, the Bulls are my pick for the biggest improvers in the East this season.
You say that like it's a surprise, like, my under the radar pick here is that the Bulls might do well.
I don't think people think they're going to be that good. I think people think they're going to be fun to watch.
No.
I know people think they're going to be good.
Literally everybody's predicting that they finish 4th to 7th seed probably.
Well, then I'm in that same boat.
Well, good job.
I like what they've done.
Yeah, I think
DeMar.
Yeah, I think the main thing for them was defense. They had to solve that. When they got Vucevic last year, their defense was absolutely horrendous, and he's obviously not a standout defender, and neither is Levine. But I think bringing Lonzo and DeMar and Caruso and guys like that, I think that really, really helps them. And yeah, it's tough for me for them because I don't know where their ceiling is. I don't know if Zach LaVine gets that much better as a player. I don't think Vucevic gets that much better. Obviously, DeMar's on the decline of his career, even though he's still a great player. I don't know how much Lonzo can improve. I don't know. See, my philosophy is, and I think with the Clippers, what the Clippers did a couple of years ago was they realised they had a decent team. They had a playoff team with Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan was still there, and obviously Chris Paul. They let Chris Paul go, but they still had Lou Will and Patrick Beverley. Still had a decent team that was playoffs. That was contending in the playoffs. But I think they realised that this team wasn't going to win a championship, so they blew it all up and got rid of the cap that DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin had. And I think it's going to be interesting to see if this team has championship aspirations, because I don't predict them to win the championship. And you've got to build to win a championship. And it's going to depend on Lonzo, I think. And I think, obviously, that's not a hot take, I don't think, because I think Lonzo's a very popular player and people want to see him do well, but it's going to be interesting to see if he can make a difference in terms of a difference between a solid playoff team and a championship level team.
Well, I disagree. I don't think this team is trying to win a championship. I think they're trying to
what's the point?
I think improving. Like,
yeah, but it's not like
it doesn't matter. You can be sure only one team can win the championship. Sure, everyone's trying to win it, but I think for this team, it's just about making the playoffs as a start and building from there.
It's not like it's the Charlotte Hornets where you've got a big bunch of young pieces and you're trying to improve and get to. DeMar's old.
He's not. He's like 30, 31.
He's not 31. He's probably 32, 33. And then you've got Vucevic. They're not. They're in their primes. These players that they've got. They're in their primes.
32.
Yeah, they're in their primes. These players that they've got. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can sort of sort of come together and build a team. I don't have that much faith in Billy Donovan. I think he had.
Well, I think they need to put in a really good showing this year and then try and attract some people in the offseason.
They can't. They're paying all their guys a lot of money. And they've got to retain Zach LaVine. That's a big one. He might leave in free agency next year. So it's going to be interesting with them. But I don't really like teams that rebuild but don't bring in superstar players or don't have unbelievably good young players. Because what's the point in just making the playoffs each year? That's just Indiana.
On to the Cavaliers. A team no one cares about.
Yeah, I mean...
They've got Evan Mobley. That's it.
Is that it? Did they not? I didn't even care.
And Ricky Rubio.
Wow, that would be a great draft pick in 2007.
Imagine being the Cleveland Cavaliers, one of the worst teams in the league.
Look, do we even need to talk about him? Evan Mobley, obviously. Is it Evan? Does he have a brother?
Yes, it's Evan.
He's got a brother that's got a similar name. I don't know. Look, what?
They're going to be shit again. That's it.
Like, what do you want me to say?
Pistons.
Again, got Cade Cunningham, obviously, which is obviously the big one. And I do like they've got.
They're still going to be shit.
They've got a couple of good young pieces, and obviously I love Crispy Flake, so he's a big time Detroit Pistons fan, but they're going to be pretty blank as well.
Pacers, the West Tigers of the NBA.
Yeah, it's like the most pointless team to I'd rather talk about the Cavs than I'd talk about the Pacers. I mean, to be fair, they did try and trade for Ben Simmons, but what's the point?
Wow.
What is the point in being bang average?
Ben Simmons would just sit out there.
What is the point of being bang average year after year? Why did they fire Nate McMillan? And they got this Bjorkin dude. I don't know.
They got Rick Carlisle.
Yeah, they got Rick Carlisle now, but they signed some random ass head coach, and he was blank as well. So look, Pacers, I'm sorry, but you bore me.
Yeah, no one cares about you. All right, this is my dark horse to win the championship.
You about to say premiership?
The championship. Miami Heat.
Oh God. No.
No? Really?
No, I like Kyle Lowry. I do. And I think they kept Oladipo as well.
Yeah, Oladipo still got to come back.
I don't know. I like Jimmy. I do. But I just think that team is just so... I don't want to say inferior, but I just think I look at the Bucks and I look at the Nets and I look at other teams in that. I think Chicago would give them a run for their money.
I would think that. I think last year they were tied in the playoffs. Obviously, Tyler Hero fell off.
Yeah,
he's looked really good in the preseason.
Again,
so if he comes on, they're in with a shot. I think.
Yeah, I mean obviously they've got a great home crowd, so obviously that'll help in the playoffs. But I don't know if I can trust them. After last year, after the abysmal, and obviously they came up against the reigning NBA champions, but to get swept in the way they got swept, it was embarrassing. And I think when you have still got guys like Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler on that team, and they lost Goran Dragic, didn't they, this offseason?
Yeah.
So it's going to be, and Kendrick Nunn, so it's going to be interesting to see how that the point guard, because it's going to be obviously a very different point guard situation there, but yeah, obviously they can win it, but I just wouldn't have them near my favourites.
I think they're pretty clearly third in the East for me.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd have to think about that.
Okay, now the defending champions,
The LA Clippers.
The LA Chokers.
You can't seriously
No.
call us jokes after last year.
Yes, you're Chokers, but no, we're not talking about the LA
Alright, the
Chokers.
Milwaukee Bucks. You'll go run us through who they brought in.
They brought in Grayson Allen.
Is that it?
Is that the guy you met?
Oh yeah, I did meet Grayson Allen. Actually, funny story. I met Marvin Bagley and Grayson Allen. I saw him in. I went to Duke on a tour and I saw Grayson Allen. He gave us all the photos. A nice
Imagine
geezer.
meeting the
We-
biggest grub in the NBA.
Yeah, and we tried to sneak in like the meeting because the basketball players were having like a meeting at Duke, and then Coach K was like stared at us and just told us to get the fuck out, essentially. So yeah, that was obviously I met Grayson Allen, but yeah, I mean for them it's just about maintaining, and obviously did they get lucky at times? Absolutely, but I think they're still a very good team, and Giannis is obviously shooting a lot of threes this preseason, looking good at them. It's just going to be interesting to see if Chris Middleton can remain consistent. It's all about playoffs. It's all about moments in the playoffs. If they can continue to perform well, and obviously Drew Holiday was inconsistent from a shooting perspective, but defensively he's so elite that it just helps them so much.
Yeah, and I mean they lost PJ Tucker, Bryn Forbes, Jeff Teague. And they basically just replaced them like for like with George Hill, Rodney Hood, Grayson Allen.
Yeah.
So they basically got the same team, they're just running it back. Okay, moving on to the Knicks. The Knicks last season were kind of like the pleasant surprise of the league. They finished fourth. Most people didn't think they would even make the playoffs. This year I think is going to be very difficult for them, and it's going to really tell us where they are, because this year there's an expectation that they're going to do well top four again, because they've gotten better on paper at least. So yeah. And now the New York fans are behind them. There's a real expectation behind this group, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on them to perform this year.
So who's their additions?
Their additions: Kemba Walker, Evan Fournier, Dwayne Bacon, and 4 rookies that I don't know. Departures: Reggie Bullock, Frank Ntilikina, Alfred Payton.
Well, yeah, you can see the obvious improvement in quality of player, but again, do I love what they did? I don't exactly, because I don't think those are players are going to be winning you championships. Again, obviously they're fine if you bring him in for $30 million contracts, but you've got a guy like Evan Fournier on a massive contract. Is it worth the money for a team like New York, who need a superstar player, who need a player that's going to make sure that Julius Randle doesn't shoot 20 step-back fadeaways in the playoffs?
He's going to do that now. That's what he's going to do.
I like the addition of Kemba, and Evan Fournier obviously brings them offense, which they desperately needed last year. But again, they're not good defenders, so it's going to be like, which one are you going to choose, really, offense or defense? And I think they were a really great defensive team last year, and I don't know if they're going to keep that up with playing Fournier and Kemba Walker big-time minutes.
It's also going to be interesting how Tibbs rotates his guards, because they've got a lot of guards now, bringing in Kemba and Fournier, who are 2 starting guards basically. D-Rose was their best player last year. He's definitely in the playoffs. He was their best player.
Yeah.
And then you've got Quickly coming through, who's a good young guard, and they had someone else. Who else do they have? Oh yeah, and RJ Barrett.
Okay, yeah.
So there's like 5 rotation guards that are going to need to play like 3 people's minutes in the playoffs.
Yeah, again, it's just a team of grafters. It's a team of hard workers, and again, when you come up against the quality teams in the East that have so much talent, again, it works in the regular season because they can just outwork people, and they proved that last year how much they sort of outwork teams. But you see in the playoffs, everyone works hard. Everyone puts in 110%. So I don't know if these players really give them an edge to win. They might win a first-round series if they're lucky again. But again, they were lucky, I felt, with their seedings. They got Atlanta first round. Could have easily got a much tougher one.
Yeah, I think they would have lost to Miami.
Yeah, I think... I don't know. I think obviously a lot of hype with them. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they can sort of rescue themselves.
Okay, Orlando. This this might be worse than the Cavs, the least interesting team in the league. They've got Jalen Suggs, who's an interesting rookie. Franz Wagner, I believe that's Mo Wagner's brother, and Robin Lopez. So that's a nice big man. And all they've lost is Otto Porter Jr.
Yeah. Orlando again. Do we want to talk about Orlando?
No. All I can say is when you're the 14th team and you're bringing in Robin Lopez to try and improve, that just sums it up.
Yeah, I mean Orlando. It's all props to you, mate. But like, what are you doing with your life?
People only go there for Disneyland.
Yeah.
Okay. Now Philadelphia. The team with the most controversy, whatever, right now, apart from Brooklyn.
Yeah, I have no faith in this team whatsoever. I just don't think that they're going to be able to sort of muster any sort of chemistry within it from a team perspective. I don't think they're ever going to be well liked. The players are going to ever be sort of liked by the fans. Obviously a very tough crowd in Philadelphia. And I think that obviously Ben Simmons is going to probably receive the most of flack of it, but I just don't see the chemistry working, even if they were all happy as Larry. You saw how they just completely dismantled this team through getting rid of Jimmy Butler and bringing in Al Horford.
That was the worst.
I mean, at the time it was bizarre.
Giving Tobias Harris the money instead of Jimmy.
I mean, I don't mind Tobias Harris getting the money, to be fair.
Come on.
I don't
If
mind.
it was him or Jimmy and you're giving it to him.
Yeah, I don't have much faith in that team at all. I think it doesn't gel well together. I think I would have taken that Brogdon deal if it was me, because I think he actually provides defense and offense for that team. And I think they were kind of hoping for a James Harden haul where they would get, or even maybe another superstar from another team. So yeah, it's going to be sort of interesting to see what they do, but I have no faith in them playoffs wise or regular season wise, and I have zero faith in Doc Rivers. I think he's the worst, most overrated.
Yeah.
Stephen A. Smith is just single-handedly the reason why that guy is rated as highly as he is. He always bigs him up like, me and Doc go way back. He's so great.
He just big up his friends. That's what he does.
Awful. Every year we choked. He was the most stubborn, stupid coach ever. And look, he won a ring with Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Rajon Rondo, Big Baby Davis, Kendrick Perkins. That's a very good team, especially in that time period where it's very defensive oriented and you need superstars to generate all your points. So I think really his time should be over in Philadelphia, and I think it will be over after this year.
Yeah, I think Doc has definitely been exposed now as a bit of a fraud. But we have forgotten that they have signed Andre Drummond.
They have.
And that is a huge, huge game changer.
Wow, that's so cool.
I mean, yeah, that guy's I think there was one video in the preseason where he like did a spin move, and like broke someone's ankles, and then he drove into the paint and like lost the ball, and then he got dunked on at the other end, and it made me laugh quite hysterically.
Why is Andre Drummond on that team as well? It just makes no sense. It's a shit show, really. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah, so they finished first last year. They'll probably not finish first this year. Maybe sixth.
Yeah, I don't even. I have no faith in them, and I think I have a lot more faith. Look, that's why I had to get the What It Do baby back up.
Okay.
You got it.
This fun guy. Where's some more? Yeah, what's up, baby? What it do, baby? Yeah.
Got to get that What It Do baby back up on there.
See that? See what we do for you guys?
That is just commitment. I've been trying to work that out with my Wi-Fi for about 10 minutes now. But anyway, I think that's probably just not even a talking point with them, to be honest.
All right, two more teams in the East. The Toronto Raptors.
Don't care.
Don't care.
They blew it up. They should have taken Jalen Suggs instead of Scotty Barnes, in my opinion. What do you want me to say? They blew it up, which they should have done.
They're in full rebuild now.
They should have blew it up, but it's just like, why do you still have Pascal Siakam?
Because they signed him.
Yeah, but teams would want him. Why do you still have him? Why do you not trade
Nobody
him?
will want him. He got exposed last year.
Yeah.
As a one-hit wonder.
I mean, still teams would still take him for draft picks, especially contending teams. But
okay. Finally, the Wizards.
Again, just such a nobody, nowhere going. Absolutely. They drafted Cody Kispert, which is going to help them wonders.
And Isaiah Todd.
Oh, what? That's so cruel. That's just... Where did Isaiah Todd go to university, by the way?
I don't know.
Yeah. I think, obviously, Bradley Beal is a loyal guy, and I don't really see him leaving, to be honest. I think the Wizards will somehow always find a way to reassure him.
That they've signed Dinwiddie, he's pretty good.
And Montrezl Harrell,
and KCP, and Kuz, the most improved player.
They got every Lakers player that was completely useless last year has gone there. How wonderful is that for them? It didn't work exactly that well with LeBron James, but they're going to work really well with Wizards.
I can actually say now that I don't have blind bias for Kuzma anymore. That man
is garbage.
He's a walking garbage can.
Look, I'm calling them garbage, knowing that we can barely play basketball.
We can at least handle a basketball, but
we're not Kuzma's level. Let's be real.
Come on, this man's airballing layups.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's a bit of a...
His preseason highlights have been very entertaining to watch.
Yeah, I mean... Look, I just don't think the Wizards are just going to make the playoffs.
By highlights, I mean lowlights.
Yeah, obviously, I think they just got... Again, it's another team like the Raptors where they just blew it up too late. The Raptors obviously can recover from it because they got the number 4 pick. But I think the Wizards are just waiting for what? What are you waiting for? Do you think Bradley Beal is going to turn into Michael Jordan and you're going to make the playoffs and you're going to make it to the conference finals? What's the point in keeping a below par team and paying all these guys all this money? You're paying Bertans shit ton of money. You're paying Beal a shit ton of money. You're paying all these...
Because there's nothing else they can do.
Yeah, you can rebuild. You should rely on the draft to improve your team if you're in the position that the Wizards are in. And the fact that they're just keeping on slugging along with this bullshit team is just ridiculous.
Okay.
Well, that's my
That
opinion,
was
buddy.
great insight. Alright, now, that concludes the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Let's see what you got.
What do you want to do?
For the West.
Dallas Mavericks first up. Didn't sign anyone really. Let go of Josh Richardson. But it's cool. What are they going to do differently? Now, they're a very good team. Look, they're a very good team. Obviously, the Clippers came up against them last year, and I obviously watched those games a lot and sort of watched a lot of Luka Doncic and him just being an absolute unbelievable player. But again, I just think they need something else with him. They need something. They brought in Reggie Bullock, Frank Ntilikina, Sterling Brown. I mean, yay. So with them, more of the same if they come up against an elite team. But again, if they wouldn't have got the Clippers, if they would have got the Suns or the Lakers first round, or if they would have got the Nuggets first round or the Jazz first round, I think they beat those teams, and I think they make a surprise run last year. I think they just came up against a tough team.
You think they beat every other team except for the Clippers?
The Clippers were the best team in the West the last playoffs. With Kawhi Leonard healthy, we would have won the West, and don't you even deny it. We should have easily gone 7 games with the Suns without Kawhi. Are you seriously telling me we wouldn't win that? Are you that deluded?
I think that franchise will find a way to lose.
But because of injury. No. If Kawhi Leonard was healthy, we would have, we could have easily won the championship last year. And I know that's just this is like, well, if your aunt had balls, should be your uncle sort of talk. But I mean, they could have easily won the Clippers. I mean, we're not talking about the Clippers, but all I'm saying is the Dallas Mavericks are a really, really solid team, but they just need to make improvements. And it's going to be tough with the salary cap and obviously paying Porzingis that amount of money. Nuggets, again, they didn't do that much. They brought in Jeff Green, which is a good piece, I think.
Murray comes back.
Yeah, they lost JaVale McGee. JaVale McGee! And obviously lost Paul Millsap. But again, it's just about getting Jamal Murray healthy, and obviously they paid Michael Porter Jr. recently. So it's going to be sort of, I think they are a contender in that West definitely, and I think with Jamal Murray.
I don't think they're a contender.
Well, I think Westbrook's trash, so. Alright, Golden State Warriors. Brought in Iggy, Otto Porter, Kuminga, Moses Moody. And obviously, I could have named Chris Chiozza or Nemanja Bjelica, but I decided to leave them out for obvious reasons.
Well, you did name them, so.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
But look, I think that they're obviously.
If Clay comes back and he's like 85% of what he was, I think that'll be a threat.
Well, I think they lost Pascal and they lost Kelly Oubre, which I think are good bench pieces for them. But yeah, it's all about how Clay comes back. It's all about how Steph plays with Clay again, and how their rookies play. And I think, obviously, I think they're going to be one of those teams in 2 to 3 years' time. They're going to really, sort of, be like the number one contenders with Curry.
Really?
Well, I just think they need guys like Kuminga and Moody to develop.
Curry's going to be like 35.
And Wiseman. Yeah, but I think Curry's game translates to it when he's 35 anyway. I think they'll have 1 or 2 really good contending years in a couple of years' time. I just don't think quite yet their young players are good enough to be supporting players for a championship team. The Rockets, they obviously added a lot in the draft. They probably had the best
Rockets
draft.
are building. They're rebuilding well.
Yeah, they're probably the best draft. They brought in Tice through a trade. Jalen Green, Sengun, Garuba, Josh Christopher looked great in Summer League. They lost Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk, which no one really gives a shit about anyway. But
Kevin
look,
Porter
I think again with this team, they're not going to be a great team. But I love the draft picks that they had. I think they had undoubtedly the best draft. Josh Christopher, I really like. Sengun was a great value pick as well. So with Jalen Green, so I like where they're headed, and I think they made the right move by trading Harden. Although I think they could have got obviously a lot better return. I think they needed to rebuild at that time, and I think they did very well in the draft. So props to them. The Clippers. Free agency, we brought in Hartenstein and Winslow. Great additions.
You've gotten
We
worse.
traded for Eric Bledsoe.
You've gotten worse.
This is, I mean, that's probably the worst.
Eric Bledsoe. You've added Eric Bledsoe.
Well, we traded for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who did you trade for him? Patrick Beverley.
Yeah. We should
To
probably,
be fair, honestly, that's a fair trade.
is it?
A shit house for a shit house.
I think Patrick Beverley is 10 times the player that Eric Bledsoe is.
Really?
I think shooting wise, I think he's a much better shooter. I think defensively, I think obviously they're both good defensively, but Bledsoe couldn't get minutes last year for.
Patrick Beverley's
trash
good for
teams.
injuring other teams' players. That's it.
I think Bledsoe is. I don't like that move at all. But I do like the draft picks. I think Brandon Boston look great for being a 51st pick. Keon Johnson, obviously a great value pick at the time. It's probably valued around 8 before the draft, and we slipped to 24. Got Jason Preston as well, but again, you lost a lot of the sort of key bench players that you had last year, like a Patrick Patterson and Rajon Rondo didn't play that much, and Patrick Beverley. Obviously, going to miss Pat, but it's not
a hero.
It's just, again with this team this year, it's going to be if Kawhi comes
You're
back.
going to scrape into the playoffs if you're lucky without Kawhi. You can't.
You know we beat the Jazz without Kawhi, right? You know that happened, and we went to 6 with the Suns. You know that happened, right? You know that happened in a.
It's not going to happen.
It's not.
No.
It's not going to.
Come on, Paul George cannot carry a team to the playoffs anymore.
How do you know that?
Because
I mean, he proved it last year that he could win the playoffs.
But he lost.
But he could win games against arguably the best team in the NBA at the time. The Jazz at the time were probably the best team in the NBA left. And no one's going to even deny that. So,
all I know
joke's on you,
is
buddy.
Paul George is choke artist.
I mean, you're saying a lot.
Who's the
He used
coach?
to be
Ty Lue?
Yeah.
Choke artist.
How he won a
Kawhi
championship?
Leonard.
How can he be
Choke artist.
again won championships? How can they be choke artists?
Who else have you got?
Yeah. Look, all I'm going to say
Who
is
else plays for
that
them?
you're talking a lot of smack for a team that got knocked out the first round last year.
Yeah, I am.
So
Because we haven't
obviously
won
let's
zero
move on to
championships.
the Lakers because we obviously
Easy, we're going 16-0 in the playoffs. Number 1 in the West, 16-0.
You added Carmelo,
Yeah, we did.
who obviously
Yeah, we did.
cannot defend to save his life.
Carmelo.
Trevor Ariza, that's a great player.
Yes,
Kent
he is.
Bazemore, another great player. Wayne
Kent.
Ellington,
Great shooters.
Dwight
Great
Howard,
shooters. Great rim protector. And
DeAndre Jordan.
Yes.
Malik Monk, I actually like that pickup.
Kendrick Nunn, elite.
Kendrick Nunn, I like the value for them, what you
Yeah,
picked them up for.
yeah.
I don't think they're gonna set the world alight, are they?
Yeah. I think on paper, the Lakers and the Nets have the two greatest rosters of all time. Ever assembled.
See, this is why you don't talk sense.
What?
This is why you're.
What roster is better than that on paper?
Of all time.
Yeah,
Do you want me to name
time.
all-time rosters that are better than that?
Yeah.
How about the Miami Heat?
No.
So LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh is not better than Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, and LeBron.
No, not with Carmelo and Rondo and Dwight.
You're acting like this is 2010. They're shit now. They're wank. They're out the door. They're in the
I'm saying
retirement home.
Carmelo Anthony, I think, is still the best isolation player in the league.
Just shut up. I'm not even talking to you. Just shut up.
If he is one bucket,
No,
if any
shut
go-to
up.
player,
Honestly, I don't even want to talk to you.
He is.
Okay, and you lost like an entire NBA roster as well. KCP, Devontae Kaycock, Alex Caruso, Andre Drummond, Jared Dudley, Marcus Gasol, Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Kuzma, Ben McLemore, Alfonso McKinney,
We thank you for your services. all those
Austin
players.
Reeves, Dennis Schroeder,
Except Dennis Schroeder.
Wesley Matthews. So yeah, the Lakers, obviously I think they're going to contend this year, but I think they did have a really strong free agency period, but again, you're overhyping like the wrong players. I think guys like Malik Monk is a really good signing. I don't think Carmelo that can't pass a pass.
Come on, Carmelo was great
He
last
cannot
year
pass a pass.
in his role.
He cannot pass
Yes,
a
he's
pass.
actually really good. People just think he's bad.
People just think he's bad because his like stats and the way like he plays in
Yeah,
when
he's
you
really
watch
good
him
in
is
his
really
own
bad.
right. Yeah.
But like if you think about him from like a lover's like aspect, then he's a great player.
No.
Right,
No. This is what needs to happen, okay? Frank Vogel, please. If we want to win this championship, Taylor Horton Tucker cannot play more than garbage minutes this whole season. Okay. Everyone's saying we need him. Every time I see
Maybe
him
you're
on
just
the floor,
wrong. Have you made
every time I see him on the floor, it's 3 turnovers for 1 dunk.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. He can't play. He's garbage.
Okay. So moving on, Memphis Grizzlies brought in Steven Adams, Jarrett Culver, Chris Dunn, Sam Merrill. Drafted Zaire Williams 10th overall. Lost a lot of players. Obviously, probably the most well known is Jonas Valanciunas, who they traded for Steven Adams. Memphis. There's not another boring team in my opinion. They've got a lot of underrated players that don't get talked about that much, like Dylan Brooks and Jaren Jackson. But I think they're a good team.
Jaren Jackson plays 10 games a season.
I think they can sneak into the playoffs maybe if Ja Morant sort of continues to grow and Jaren Jackson continues to grow. And Steven Adams wasn't great with the Pelicans last year, let's be real, even though we all love him. It wasn't great, but we'll see. Again, they're a team that is a we'll see team. Moving on, Minnesota.
I think Minnesota has potential.
Could I be less? I think I could fall asleep.
I would
Minnesota.
be. No, they have. Come on, Anthony Edwards is one of the most entertaining players in the league.
Yeah, but they're going nowhere. They've got no upside. They're paying all these players so much money, but what is their potential? Like at least the Bulls, I know are gonna be like playoffs and can like compete with the top teams in a playoff series.
Well, I mean,
this team can't make the playoffs.
Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards. There's something there. That's a good core.
Is there?
Yeah,
I think Karl Anthony Towns has been exposed for the past couple of years defensively. Same with D'Lo. I think Anthony Edwards is talented, but again inefficient at the moment. It's going to take 3 to 4 years for him to develop into an all-star level player, in my opinion. So again, I just don't think the moves that they've made over recent years has put them in any stead to compete for anything. Pelicans, Devontae Graham they brought in, which was a bit bizarre at the time. Valanciunas, Satoransky, Garrett Temple, drafted Trey Murphy, lost Lonzo obviously, and Steven Adams. It was weird. Their team needed defense, but they traded their good defensive players or let them go to free agency for good offensive players. It was like really bizarre. They let Steven Adams and Lonzo Ball go for Valanciunas and Devontae Graham. It was a bizarre sort of thing that not many people expected. I still think, depending on Zion's health, I think they can still compete for a playoff spot. Because I don't think Stan Van Gundy was a great coach last year. I think they were held back by him. But again, it's a team like Memphis where it's going to be and ahhing to see if they'll make the playoffs.
I don't think they'll make it.
Again, it'll be disappointing, but I just don't think their defense is anywhere near good enough. Zion's not a good defender. Brandon's not a great defender. Valanciunas is not a great defender. They just got not many great defenders. Oklahoma City. This is just
Josh Giddey.
I mean, obviously represent Josh Giddey from Australia, but gosh, do I want to talk about them? Do I really want to talk about Thunder?
Who do they have?
They brought in Derek Favors.
They signed Derek Favors.
They got rid of Al Horford's contract and Kemba Walker's contract. Wow, great team this year.
I don't understand why shit teams sign shit vets.
To mentor the young players,
But
that's why.
He's not known as a mentor.
How do you know that?
I know him.
You know him personally? You're like,
He's
he's a dickhead, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, we're moving on. Phoenix Suns. Brought in JaVale McGee, Alfred Payton, Chandler Hutchinson, Landry Shamet with fire trade. Obviously, they lost not much. They lost Torrey Craig, who was decent for them in the playoffs last year, and Langston Galloway and those cats. Look, I think they were kind of lucky last year. I think they were probably the most luckiest team in the history of playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, they versed the Lakers first round with no LeBron.
We exposed them until AD got injured.
No, look, the Lakers had no Anthony Davis and LeBron on one leg, and they beat them. Then they versed the Nuggets without Jamal Murray, and then they versed the Clippers without Kawhi and Serge Ibaka. So good on them. I think they're a flash in the pan. I do like Chris Paul's impact. Obviously, he's a great player and he makes a great impact on teams. But I think they were very fortunate with injuries to other teams that they played last year and probably had a surprisingly easy run. And they nearly blew it to the Clippers. There was a lot of close games in there that they could have easily lost, and it would have been an absolute disaster if they would have lost that to a Kawhi-less Clippers. Portland, Ben McLemore, Dennis Smith, Tony Snell, Cody Zeller, Larry Nance brought in.
Not enough.
They lost Melo, Zach Collins, and Kanter.
Not enough to keep Lillard.
Yeah, again, it's another team I think should just blow it out. I think when you're at a point where you know you're not going to compete for a championship, that you might as well just trade Lillard. You might as well bring in, because he obviously has tremendous value, you can bring in a lot of young pieces, a lot of draft picks.
If you trade Lillard and CJ, you could probably get 10 first round picks.
Yeah, especially to I don't know which team would be able to do that with salary cap sort of issues, because I haven't really looked into that, but I think obviously they're a contending team. Kings, fuck off. Spurs lost DeMar DeRozan, they're just going to be even shitter. I'm just going to run through all these wank teams. Utah, obviously disappointed last year, and Rudy Gobert got exposed. They brought in Rudy Gay, which is the funniest name I've ever heard, but I think they brought in Pascal as well. They improved, I think.
I've been telling everyone Rudy Gobert's shit.
Yeah,
I've been telling everyone.
He got exposed last year in the playoffs by the Clippers.
All he can do is this.
He's a great interior defender, but when he
that's all he does. That's his talent.
When he doesn't come up against a center, he's exposed because he has no mobility.
His talent is putting his arms in the air.
And I think it's going to continue. The Jazz are stuck with him, and they're going to have to play him in the playoffs, but he's just a liability then. And that's it for the Western Conference. I think a couple teams improved, but I think the Lakers are obviously
win the championship.
The favourites in that.
NBA chat for today.
What a wonderful chat it was, my
Yes, friend. Okay. Now we're going to move on to something over here known as soccer, I believe. Kicking a ball into a goal.
I'm already pissed off.
I think that's how it works.
Not
really sure, but...
Don't say soccer, please. I'm really annoyed.
That's literally what it's called here.
It's not. Well, I don't care what it's called here. You're French, so you should say football.
I'm not French.
Yes, you are. You're French. Yes, you are. You're French. You're French. Let's be real.
I have zero French DNA.
Did you live in France, yes or no?
Yeah.
That means you're French. Alright, move on.
You live in Australia.
Checkmate.
Are you Australian?
I've got an Australian citizenship.
Do you call yourself Australian?
I call myself many things. Dude, move on. You're already
You
French.
started this.
You're French. We all know it. You're just French, right?
Okay, Joe, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, I think obviously Man United is at the forefront of my mind, obviously being as a Man United fan. And it's just, why are you smirking at me like you're like a Man United fan as well, you Mel?
Yeah, I am.
Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's in a lot of stick with the fans. And watching that game on the weekend, it was absolutely pitiful. I mean, the defending, and obviously Rafael Varane's out, but I don't want to make excuses for the fraud himself.
Harry Maguire has 2 pace.
Look, the thing that makes me depressed about Manchester United is the fact that no matter what, Ole's going to keep his job. There's no way, there's no world in which he doesn't keep his job for a long period of time.
Why? He can lose it.
No, because the owners are just stupid Yanks.
Why do the owners control it?
Funny enough, owners control decisions within things that they own.
Yeah, but they own the team. Doesn't the GM or whatever control it? Or the board?
Well, they're all in bed together. They got Ed Woodward, who's obviously a banker that helped them, the Glazers, take over Manchester United. And they all align. And it's a board of directors that really makes the decision. And that sort of comes from owners and management. But look, I think there's no way that he leaves or that he's sacked. I think the coaching's horrific though. I think it's boring. I think we're just completely misusing Ronaldo. It's abysmal. I could just rant on forever about how pitiful he is as a coach.
Everyone was happy about him, weren't they, last year?
Well, I mean, he did well. He didn't do anything sackable. Obviously, he lost the Europa League final, but he didn't. He came second in the league, and with the team that he had, that was probably it was marginally maybe better than expected or better than anticipated. But I think what he's done this year, I mean, it's just embarrassing. We could have had 4 points.
You're basically out of contention already for the league.
Well, yeah, I think that because I don't think the board will sack Ole until the only way that they sack Ole is if we lose 6 weeks in a row.
You're playing 5 of the
again,
top 6
which could happen. We've been piss poor all year. We've gotten lucky with results, and I think De Gea has been unbelievable this year, which has saved us many a times. I think it's just to think, and people are blaming. If you're blaming certain players, I just don't understand really. And obviously, the decision yesterday, or when the game was, to play Harry Maguire when he'd had 1 day of being back from injury and he trained for 1 day. I just don't understand that when you have a guy like Eric Bailly on the bench. I just think he just has these favourites that are just awful. He plays McFred. Obviously we didn't have McFred. It's a combination of McTominay and Fred.
But the thing is that there's no other midfielders in the squad.
Well, Matic and Pogba played yesterday, but it wasn't their fault. McTominay came on and was absolutely woeful with his defending and really cost us a goal at the end. But look, I just think he has his favourites, and I think Donny van der Beek is a midfielder that hasn't been. It's obviously been well documented how he's been mistreated by Ole and his coaching staff, and I think the thing is, it's not really Ole that's making these coaching decisions. He doesn't run training. It's the coaches that he hires. And it's sort of like he picks a team, but he does it based off how his coaches teach the team, which is ridiculous and it's so defensive and so pragmatic. And when Fred plays, he's awful. I think and McTominay and Fred play a position. They're not number 6s. They're number 8s. They play box to box. They're box to box players, but they just throw him in at CDM. I think
there's no you can't be relying on Matic. He's
he's too
40
old.
years old.
He doesn't play that often. It's more McFred that plays. And after we lost yesterday, it's going to be more of McFred, which is fabulous. But where I see this going is just nowhere. I see it being.
You don't think they can turn it around?
They could if they sacked him. I just don't think they will. They're that incompetent.
Surely, when you've got that many world-class attacking players, they can get it together.
They don't care. Look, the board do not care. They care about money. They're Yanks. They're bankers. They do not care.
No, but I'm saying the players. Surely they can just get it together themselves and go.
Well, no. When Bowman,
we're good enough to score 3 goals a game. we should be able to do that.
Look, we're Moments FC. That's the whole thing. We score these wonder goals with these unbelievable players because they create something out of nothing. But we have no style of play that's effective. We get ran through on the counter all the time. It's just like every time another team counterattacks, it feels like they're going to score. It's just so schematically wrong and awful that I just think that there's no hope. I mean, what's your opinion on it if you from an outsider?
Well, from watching the 2-minute Optus highlight videos, I feel like I have quite a good grasp on how they're playing. No, but I watched a Sky Sports video with Gary Neville, and he was basically saying it's Pogba's fault. He's not a high effort player. He doesn't get back and defend. It's the players are wrong, right?
Yeah.
And then I looked through the comments, and every single one of them is just going, "You fucking retard."
Yeah, because he's best mates with him.
Yeah, and they're like, everybody else, Ole has shit tactics. Gary Neville, Pogba doesn't try hard.
Yeah,
shit like that.
Look, it's what happens is he owns Salford City. If you don't know, he owns a League Two team, Salford City. He sacks managers like every time it's his birthday. I mean, he's had 4 managers in the past 4 years. But again, he thinks Ollie should be given more time. I think he's had enough time, and I think that these pundits like Roy Keane, and I obviously love Roy Keane and Gary Neville. They're legends of Manchester United, and they're good pundits usually. But I think when it comes to Ollie, they're so attached to him, and they think you don't go against your mates basically. But guys like Jamie Carragher have come out and sort of said that Gary's a bit too fond of Ollie in terms of his lack of criticism, you can say, but...
And it's got to be weird that, Ronaldo's played with him.
Yeah.
And now he's coaching him.
Look, I don't think, again, like I said, I don't think it's actually his coaching. I think it's his guys like McKenna and Michael Carrick, they're sort of the coaches underneath him, and I think they run the coaching element of the team and the tactical element of the team.
Well, a manager be fired.
Well, a manager, yeah, but again, they won't because they're his mates. He grew up with Phelan. Phelan was Sir Alex Ferguson's assistant manager. Carrick, he played with Michael Carrick. So I think that he won't sack those guys because they're his mates. So it's just a bunch of mates looking out for each other and hoping and praying that they get top 4 so they can retain Champions League football. It's a joke that it's got to this level. And again, I just don't think it's going to be solved at all because of the lack of... They're so stupid in the board. He should be... If he shouldn't be sacked, he should be put under unbelievable pressure. Insurmountable. You should be if you lose your next game, you twat.
Isn't
you're out.
against Liverpool?
Again, if you lose against Liverpool, you're out. That's what they should be saying to him, but they won't. They'll be
you can't be expecting to beat Liverpool after these results.
Yeah, but they should be giving him pressure and saying, if you don't get results pronto, you're out of it. And if it was Chelsea, if it was Man City, that's what they'd be doing. But because it's Manchester United, is run by the Yanks, it's just being well, we back you. We'll give you another contract, mate. Don't worry, mate. It's all good. And I think it's just pitiful how we're playing at the moment, and you can't look at anything else. You can't look at the players that are on the pitch and say that that's a bad team. You can't have Rafael Varane, Maguire, Luke Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, De Gea, Pogba, Bruno, Sancho, Rashford, Greenwood, Ronaldo, Cavani. You can't have those players and then sit there.
Lingard.
Oh, thanks for the backup commentary, but I can't have those players and think it might be their fault. It might be their fault. I mean, it's not. I mean, they might have success for their country and win World Cups and win with other teams, but it might just be them. It might be just me. Manchester's weather, they might not suit it. It's just so frustrating when you hear sort of the mainstream media try and defend Ollie. And look, I obviously want him to succeed. I don't want him to be a bad manager, and I'm not one of these guys that praying that Manchester United lose so Ollie can get out quicker. But I think that he just has to start winning right now. If we lose against Liverpool, I'm out on him. I don't have his back at the moment. But again, if he loses to Liverpool, which they're on fire at the moment. Mo Salah is an unbelievable player. I just think we have no chance against them, and I think we're going to lose. And I think I'm going to be sick and tired of it, to be honest, mate. It's a bit depressing.
I think they'll win.
Do you think Manchester United will beat Liverpool?
Yeah.
There's no chance, mate. There's absolutely no chance. Because they have a style of play that is so much better. And
but results change from week to week, you know.
Ours don't. They lost. Actually, no, they do.
They
change from
Newcastle.
They changed from a draw to a loss. Yeah, against Newcastle, we were piss poor for about 60 minutes of that game. And we just had moments of brilliance from Bruno and Ronaldo that saved us. We were 1-1 in that game. West Ham should have lost it. Oh, should have drawn it, sorry. Everton could have easily lost it. Villarreal, we were unbelievably lucky in that game. We've just been having games. Southampton, if De Gea doesn't make that world-class save at the end, we've lost 2-1. Again, and it's not like we've come against world-beating teams. Like Leicester, we get beat 4-2. Like, we score a goal, and then 30 seconds later they score. Like, it's so unbelievably bad. And I just don't think we're going to come back from it at all. And Champions League is the only hope. And again, if we were to sack a manager and bring in a Zidane, then maybe I could see us sort of...
Zidane would take Manchester United?
I think he would with the players. With the players that he...
Didn't him and Ronaldo not end well?
No, it's nothing to do with that. I think Zidane would come. I think Conte would come. I think a lot of top managers want to come to Manchester United simply because of the playing group that they have here. But it's just the coaching's so unbelievably bad. It's annoying, mate. I'm going to be honest. It's pretty annoying.
Well, I think you should just, formally ask Ole to leave.
Formally ask him, just write him an email and just say, hey, mate.
Yeah, or just fly over there and just rock up to his office.
Do you think he'd let me in?
No.
I mean, we've got the same name. I'm Ollie. He's Ole.
He's Ole.
He's Ole, yeah. It's a bit different.
Yeah, so it wouldn't work.
Yeah, maybe not. Shame. So what's the next talking point?
I don't know. This is your segment.
I'd like to talk about probably Mo Salah a bit. I think what he's done the past couple of weeks. I think a lot of people are talking about, especially Liverpool fans, talking about him being the best player in the world at the moment. I think he's up there. I do. I think he's probably, if you're going to pick an 11, he'd definitely be one of the first names on the team sheet in terms of world. Again, I think based on form, maybe, but there's a lot of players that can be up for that consideration. But maybe since Ronaldo and Messi have not taken it down, like they're not terrible players, obviously still amazing players, but I think there's obviously contention for them to be sort of overthrown as the kings of football. So I think Mo Salah,
Lewandowski in it.
Lewandowski, Haaland, those type of players are up there, but I think Mo Salah, for his skill at the moment, just some of the goals he's scoring is just unbelievable. I think his just ability to just have so much composure in front of goal and score with both feet is remarkable. And against the Liverpool Man United preview, God.
But it's crazy, how his career, because I remember, on FIFA, he was at Roma and he was 80 rated or some shit.
This is where you get all your information from.
Yeah, FIFA 14, 15, 16 or whatever, he was at Roma, he was 82 rated.
Yeah.
And now he's gone to Liverpool when he's 28 and he's become a god.
Yeah, he didn't really get that opportunity at Chelsea when he was there. And I think, obviously, Chelsea have got a pretty bad record of letting some pretty good players go, like Kevin De Bruyne and Mo Salah and Romelu Lukaku, who they obviously brought back. But I think that Mo Salah, just in Liverpool, it's just everything's there. He's got a great team around him. He's got arguably the best manager in the world at the moment. He's got a great fan base. It's just a lot of positives going for Mo Salah at the moment, and I don't think he's going to be... I think Liverpool, obviously were underrated coming into this season, to be honest, mate. I think they were kind of underrated as a title contender. I think people thought Man United would be ahead of them, but I think that they're sort of proving that they've got a really good team when healthy. But again, when healthy, their depth isn't nowhere near as good as it should be, especially I think in that midfield position, and right back, their backup right back is James Milner. So I think that...
I thought he was retired.
I mean, he's been playing since I was born, so I mean, it's pretty woeful. Again, I just think that he's an unbelievable player, Mo Salah, and I think he's obviously got Mane back, hopefully to his best, and they got Jota and
hopefully,
and I mean, hopefully, because I don't obviously don't want to see Liverpool win, but I don't like players sort of ruining, I don't want to say ruin, but take a decrease in their career. I like to see players, great players, played at an unbelievable level. You know, I always root for players to play well, not necessarily for teams, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where Liverpool finish, but I think Mo Salah on the form that he's on, I think they're definitely contenders. Chelsea have looked a bit sketchy. Romelu Lukaku's looked a bit sketchy the past couple of weeks. So yeah, I think them and Man City are probably the two contenders in my eyes. What about you? Do you have any?
Who do I think is going to win?
Yeah.
I would have said City before the season, but then they were looking a bit shaky without a real solid striker at the start. They've started to. I think their attacks picked up a bit the last few weeks, and then I was thinking Chelsea because they were looking really good, but then they've slowed down the last few weeks. So now, I don't know.
You don't know.
I really don't know.
Well, it's up in the air at the moment. I think Man United are obviously not in the conversation.
I think Everton.
See, this is what you do. You look at the table, you look at the
I
highlights.
haven't even looked at it. What is it?
And you're like...
What is the table?
I think... I didn't even look this week because I was just embarrassed.
Man United are in not the top 5.
I think Everton might be up there.
Man United are 6. Oh, actually Brighton.
Yeah.
Brighton are in 4th.
Well, Brighton aren't going to stay there either. But yeah, in essence, I think Man United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer are screwed. And obviously we're going to check back in next week to see if Liverpool beat us again, which is going to be fantastic.
What about Newcastle?
Oh, I mean...
They're going to be the new PSG.
Newcastle, what about Newcastle?
Newcastle.
Football!
Okay. What about Newcastle? They've just been bought by some trillionaires.
Well, yeah, Newcastle are probably... Newcastle are probably going to win, let's be real, in a couple of years. But, it's not a worry for this year, are they? They've still got, John Joe Shelby at centre mid, so I'm not worried about them. But
I don't really like how soccer works like that.
What do you mean? Well,
you just get bought by a trillionaire and then you win.
It has
nothing to do with player development or...
Well, no, it does. I think when you see trillionaires come in, they obviously focus on player development. You look at Man City and what they've done with player development. And I think Newcastle before were terrible with player development when they didn't have a billionaire owner, a trillionaire owner. So, look, I think they're obviously a contender in a few years, but it's going to be interesting who they target in January, but I'm not worried about that.
What if they get relegated this year?
I don't think they will be. I think they'll get enough
They're going to be trillionaires in fucking Premiership.
Yeah, no, I think they'll get good pieces in January and they'll be sweet, I reckon.
Really?
Yeah, really, dude.
They've got 3 points.
Yeah, but I said January. From January, they can bring in players. January transfer window, they can bring in players.
Okay. So is that all you've got to say?
That's all I've got to say. I'm a bit depressed. Hopefully, if we beat Liverpool, I'll be a bit more jovial. But yeah, I think we're kind of screwed. So I don't.
Okay. What? Okay, that game is on Monday, 2:30 a.m.
I'll be watching it. I'll be staying up to watch us lose to Liverpool.
Wait, is that next Monday? Oh, yeah. Okay, next Monday.
No, it's a Monday.
You're gonna put a bet on that?
Why would I?
The odds are probably.
Why would you bet against your own team?
No, obviously on Manchester United.
Why would I bet for them at the moment?
Because odds are in your favour.
We can't beat we couldn't beat Brighton at the moment. We couldn't beat West Ham. Oh, we did, but we can't beat the bare average teams in the Premier League. What makes me think we're going to beat Liverpool?
The Champions League this week?
I'm not too sure.
20th of October. Oh, that is this week.
Again, hopefully we can sort of get out that group.
Atlanta, you're probably going to lose to them.
Why?
Because they have good players.
What players do they have? What's going on?
Gomez.
Gomez?
Do they have Gomez?
Do they have a Gomez?
Yeah.
Gomez? Who's Gomez?
Don't they have Gomez?
Oh, that guy from FIFA. I don't think he's even there anymore.
At Atlanta players.
Zapata, maybe.
Oh, yeah. They've got Zapata. They've got...
They're a very underrated team. Ghostons?
Okay, I've heard of one of their players.
Who's that?
Zapata.
Yeah, they've got a couple they're a very underrated Italian team, but we should be beating them because Italian football ain't the greatest.
Ilicic.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, they should beat them.
Hopefully. I mean, Jesus, Louise.
I mean, it's embarrassing if you don't.
Look, I'm already embarrassed, mate. It can't get any worse, can it?
Yeah. Well, okay. That wraps up this episode. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you in 6 months. Yeah, that's it. Peace out.